but there was an owners meeting, and a lot of things were discussed. A lot of names were brought out. What were your thoughts on some of the things that were said and since what's been going on?
Sure. Well, I mean, the hope was that at this owners meeting we would know who the new owner is supposed to be, and we're not there. It does seem like we've gotten closer. It does seem like the Josh Harris group has submitted a bid that's at or very close to $6 million, which is what Dan Snyder has wanted, which is great. I think what's interesting about that group, which is why I also still continue to think that they're the leading candidate, is one of the things the NFL wants is they want some diversity in their ownership.
Yep.
And we've talked about the fact that Magic Johnson has partnered with these guys. But did you hear a former Redskins quarterback is apparently in conversations with them? I don't know how much capital RG3 has to bring, because I have heard throughout this process that Josh Harris is a very shrewd businessman. He knows one of the things he does is he buys businesses knowing that they're going to appreciate in value, and then he'll sell them off. So he's not going to make a bad move. And that also, they say, he's not going to financially overpay for something. Right. So there was a little bit of like, hey, he might not give Dan the $6 million. Well, it seems like he's gotten a few other investors, and it sounds like he's bringing in a few more people. And Robert Griffin appears to be like one of them that could be joining, a whole contingency of people kind of putting in money. I just don't know how. I mean, like, we're talking millions upon millions of dollars needed to get them to that mark. So, like, how much money does RG3 have to, like, if he puts in $10 million, like, that's not moving the needle much at all.
Right.
You're not getting any voting rights on this team. Like,
a super minority share. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you must be a public person, but if you do have a group of people with some minority investors in there, it is what the NFL wants. I think that's a big deal. So I think we're seeing how we're getting a little bit closer there. So maybe we're getting closer, and maybe Dan will get the money that he wants.
Oh yeah. Well, Dan will never be happy, and he's going to do whatever he can to spite us. We know this, but we also look at RG3 in that. I mean, let's remember that 1 year, albeit just one, that was great. I mean, he had a couple more, but I'd like to forget those. That 1 year Rookie of the Year. Did he have isn't his jersey, like, I know it's in the Hall of Fame as one of the top selling rookie jerseys or something? Like, he broke records that year when he was here. And then now he's also doing some stuff with college football. He's, broadcasting games. He's kind of immersed himself into the broadcast world, and he's behind the scenes in the NFL. So it would be great, just in the sense that Josh Harris is a guy that's loved the team. RG3 played for us, and even though things did not end the way that maybe either side would have wanted them to end, I like that he was like, the fans deserve a good team. We deserve to be owned by somebody that appreciates, the fans, the team, the whole aura of the Commanders. So I like that. So I mean, we'll see.
Yeah,
I'm not here or there.
I think it's kind of like a weird full circle. Because he still is loved by people here.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many fans that, like you said, we all still kind of hold on to 2012, and so he'll always be loved for that. We forget about 2014, but, and so, I mean, at that point, so if he's here and he jazzes people up for being, making appearances at the stadium, I'm fine with it.
Right. It is what it is. I mean, like you said, they're still selling his jersey at some places. They're cheap, but they're still selling the jersey. All right. So, hey, we'll definitely see. But I mean, speaking of quarterbacks, there's a name that we've mentioned, we've discussed. Our good buddy Nathan actually kind of has not mentioned because it's too close to home. And the owners and coaches were talking about this same guy. In fact, Arthur Blank came out and said, you can't deny the ability, but, in the last 2 years, he's missed, 4 or 5 games, with the injury. And Lamar keeps talking. PCL, Lamar is the one I'm talking about. We aren't sold on him along with a lot of the other owners. I have my opinions on why we aren't, because obviously it has something to do with Sam, but it's also the cheaper route. What are your thoughts? What do you think is the real reason why we're not diving into? I mean, he's right up 95, and he's a unanimous MVP at one point. What are your thoughts?
I think that two things: cost and availability. I think are the two things that's happening here. So one of the things when it comes to cost to acquire him is they say, okay, so you place the franchise tag on that the compensation must be 2 first-round picks. That's at a minimum. The Ravens aren't going to accept that, right, to lose this guy. So what it's going to cost in draft capital to get this guy, I feel like their concerns are, it's just going to be too much for us to give up. We're not going to be able to build for the future. Kind of like what happened with RG3. We gave up all those picks and then we got the guy, but it was very difficult to build around him. And, Mike Shanahan said that was a regret as owner. So I think that's part of it. But then it comes down to cost of what it's going to take to pay him, and the fact that we've got an owner right now. While he did pay Deron Payne, he's not, he doesn't want to spend a whole lot of money out there, and so it could be someone else's. But, the other ownership, if a new owner comes in, that may be a charge for them. I'll be honest. I think it's garbage. I think we should be going after him. I do. I don't feel like Lamar is necessarily going to bring a Super Bowl, but he's 26 years old.
Yep.
He's an electric player. He would put fans in the seats.
Right.
I mean, this is he's a Pro Bowl player. This is the type of guy you want to go out. You want to sell the farm to.
Right.
And we're just like, no, we like our 5th round draft pick. We're going to go with the 5th rounder. That's what we think is the way to win. So that's why, I'm kind of here going like, knowing that we don't have what it takes to get him, but I am kind of like, this, of all the people we've ever overspent for, this is a guy to go do that. And we're, like all the other teams, we're passing on him.
Right. Now let me ask you, are you at all worried about his injury history? And the reason why I put quotations in is because last year he might have been injured, but I think he was more kind of playing the game to try to get the contract. The year before, yes, he's had injuries, but again, like you mentioned, this is a unanimous MVP at one point. This guy is in his prime. He's young. He doesn't have to go far. We're going to play that type of offense. Is that injury history really the big deal? Because remember with RG3, that was the case. That's what everybody used to tell me, is that forever great he is, for however talented he is, he can't stay on the field. He's too brittle, the injury problem, so he's not a good quarterback. And then I was just like, anybody can get hurt, but for him to now not be a good quarterback as a result of this injury, and then they said, oh well, he runs around a lot, and then he can get hurt more. Personally, if I'm standing in the pocket and I get a guy running at me at, fast pace and hitting me, I think that might get me hurt a little bit more than if I'm able to kind of maneuver around. But that's me personally. So is this injury history really the big part of this, or?
I think it plays a factor. I mean, you certainly have to, if you're going to spend that much money or you're going to rely on a starting quarterback, and he's missed over 5 games 2 years in a row. It's something to be concerned about. I think it would kind of depend on how are you planning to use him. Now, I'm not advocating to turn him into a drop back passer. You need to use his strengths, but if you're signing him for a 3 or 4 year deal because he's only 26, great. I'm not saying if you sign him for a 10-year deal, no, he doesn't play the style that fits that. But if you notice in free agency, some of these contracts got a little bit smaller. They're giving the players a chance to have another free agency. We signed Curtis Samuel into a 3-year deal, so he's going to be under 30, and he's up again for free agency. So if we were to offer Lamar a 3 or 4 year deal, I wouldn't be worried about the injuries because it's just a 3 or 4 year. Let's go for it.
I agree. I feel like that it's a good option to have, and we could go for it, but realistically, we're seeing it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Ron was he talked about it, and he just said we doesn't look like we're just not in the place to do that. And look, the direction that it appears that they're going is obviously my guy, Sam Howell. You bring in a backup in Jacoby Brissett. We're going to kind of talk about maybe we should look in the draft for a number 3 guy. We're kind of not going. That's a move that we would have had, in my opinion, we would have made into the season, kind of going into even before free agency, like we're really sitting here talking to him. I mean, we're, like I said, we're right up 95. So we could have really kind of started to really groom him and all that stuff. We haven't looked like we're going in that direction at all. And hey, and it might be the best. It might be the best for us,
Well, see, this is where I get so frustrated with our messaging, because you're right. Like, based on the way our roster is constructed and the way this is happening right now, it's not a time for us to be going after him. But like, for Ron to say like, well, we're in roster building mode and it's not in the cards for us to put that much draft capital in someone. You paid Ryan Fitzpatrick $20 million. You went out and traded for Carson Wentz and gave up picks and paid him $28 million. And you won't go get Lamar Jackson? Like, what the, Sean?
Right.
Come on. So that's my little bit like, what are we doing here? Like, look at giving quarter a try, and here's someone who is a known commodity, and we're like, that price tag's too high for me, you know. But if they would have just come out to say, hey, listen, the way we are building this team is to have play a contract, a quarterback on a rookie contract, so we can add other pieces, and that prevents us from going after the contract like it would take. I would prefer that type of transparency instead of what the garbage that they gave out. At least Martin Mayhew in his press conference, he was like, we are not going after him. We've had conversations, we talked about it, but we are not going after him. At least he said that. But Ron's answer was kind of like, come on, give me a break.
Yeah, man, come on. We could read between the lines, Ron. We know you messed up 2 years in a row getting quarterbacks that didn't play more than 5 total games, right? And then also, I think we have to look at like what you were talking about. The guys are getting shorter contracts, but think about the 2 big name guys that got picked up last year. You get Deshaun Watson, who gets all the guaranteed. Kyler gets paid with all the guaranteed. Then you got Russell Wilson gets all that money and all those trades. Are we hearing anything about the Cardinals, the Browns, or the Broncos? Nothing. It's all turmoil over there. So not saying that's what would happen with him coming over here, but it's a hefty price to say, I think he's going to do great, and I'm expecting him to do great, but it's still a gamble.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at. Anton Benson in here saying, bro, you are right, Will. What's going on, Mr. Moral Support?
Yeah, Anton. Doing big things down there at Virginia Beach.
Oh, absolutely.
Love all your business pictures.
Yes. Awesome artisans. My guy, Anton Benton. Yo, check him out. Any of your household needs, he will come. He travels. Yes, sir. So, right now, Lamar, doesn't look like it's gonna happen here in Washington.
It's too bad, man. Those photoshops, he looks really good in Commander's uniforms. I'm not gonna lie.
He does.
And you're right. Those unis pop on him.
Right, and you're right, man. You want to talk about reclaiming our stadium? And potentially with a new owner going into a new stadium. I mean, poster child. Just put him up there. I mean, Are
you listening, Josh Harris? Are you paying attention, Magic Johnson?
Pay attention. All right. Look, we are going to take a quick little breather, and we will be right back.
Dun, 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 dun.
Let's go. The Washington Commanders. There it is.